As we predicted yesterday, the European Commission met today and delivered a positive recommendation for the opening of membership negotiation into the EU for Albania, with Macedonia also receiving the good news. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker issued a warning to European lawmakers, saying integration of the Western Balkans into the European Union is the only way to avoid the return of war to the region. Should the private companies tasked with operating the public transport lines not upgrade to electric fleets, Mayor Veliaj has warned the City Hall will do it themselves in collaboration with the municipality of Verona. Good evening, it's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 17th of April 2018. Welcome to the English edition of Aura News. My name is Alexandra and I'm here to bring you the day's top stories from across the country translated into English. Aura news sources proved to be in the know yesterday after the European Commission delivered their positive recommendation today for the opening of negotiations for Albania's entrance into the EU. Following the good news, Romana Vlahutin, the EU ambassador to Albania, met with President Meta and Prime Minister Rama separately, with the latter announcing he would publicise the minutes from the meeting. Federica Mogherini is expected to arrive in Tirana later this evening with the intention of holding a meeting with Prime Minister Rama and delivering a press conference. After finishing with Rama, Mogherini will continue her tour of meetings to include President Meta, DP Chair Lulzim Basha and SMI Chair Monika Kruamadi. The positive recommendations suggest that negotiations will be opened within 2018. In addition to the advice for Albania, the European Commission also gave a positive recommendation for the opening of negotiations to our Western Balkan neighbour, Macedonia. President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, has warned the possibility of a war returning in the case that the Western Balkans put an end to their hopes of joining the European Union. If we do not open the door to these countries in such a complex and tragic region, if we do not open a European perspective for them, we will see a return to war in that area, as we witnessed in 1990. I do not want the war to return to the Balkans, so we must be open to them, said Jean-Claude Juncker at the plenary session of the European Parliament. The European Commission President's statement comes on the eve of the joint summit between the leaders of the European Union and the Balkans in Sofia, where the focus will be on the further development of ties between the parties. Although some states have resisted the expansion of the European family, the prospect of EU membership has proved a major motivation in inciting reforms across the Balkans. After a hearing with members of the Committee on European Affairs and Foreign Policy, and in order to convince the largest German parliamentary group, the CDU-CSU, to start approving the negotiations for Albania into the European Union, the Democratic Party chairman Lulzim Basha expressed the opposition's support of the process. Alongside the president of the Youth Forum of the CDU, Paul Zymek, Basha stated that work is difficult as this group is sceptical of enlargement and critical of opening negotiations. This is the task we have today, and I would say the most difficult part of the mission here in Berlin. We are here to convince the members of this commission, who are among the most sceptical regarding the opening of negotiations, said Lulzim Basha. The opposition leader suggested the opening of negotiations is the additional means of pressure and monitoring needed to intensify the fight against organised crime and corruption, the real implementation of the justice reform, and also for other issues such as public administration reform and electoral reform. The Authority for the Right to Information on former state security documents faced criticism from the Socialist MPs during the presentation of the annual report of its activity. SP MP Bashkim Fino spoke of delays in returning the answers and whether it is required by state institutions or individuals. Are there enough regulations on how much a file should be verified, said Bashkim Fino. But the head of the Files Authority, Gentiana Sula, said that the budget allocated to this new institution is insufficient. The budget is insufficient. We are working under difficult conditions, explained Gentiana Sula. The chair of the Law Commission, Lulzim Manja, also spoke harshly. He spoke of major problems that put the authority into question, but without specifying what specific problems they are. In its first operational year since creation, the Authority for the Right to Information on former state security documents has reviewed a total of 280 individual claims. The 13,000 police officers who are completing their vetting forms are not required to bring additional documents except their identification and their proof of salary. Deputy Interior Minister Julian Hodai confirmed this during a conversation with journalists. There is no need for police officers to bring additional documents, said Julian Hodai. Hodai clarified that resources will be available at each police station to assist with the completion of the forms, while adding that police officers who have been made redundant and are currently waiting for further employment can also be the subjects of vetting. We will also vet those who are available for employment in the sector, said Julian Hodai. Asked by Aura News how many police officers had already submitted their forms, Hodai advised they are not aware of the exact figure. Further, he gave details of who the evaluation commissions would consist of, while adding that the 30-day deadline would not be postponed. Since April 5th, when the first completions of forms for wealth, morale and careers started, hundreds of police officers expressed dissatisfaction and uncertainty over the vetting procedures being applied to them. Intensive investigations by the State Police Task Force have revealed abuses with approximately 100 hectares of land along the coastline of Vlora. Police sources told Aura News that the revelation was made after citizens utilised the online co-governance platform to raise concerns, which prompted police to verify documentation. This led to them confirming that a significant number of individuals colluded with local officials in order to be illegally provided with the ownership of these coastal properties. There are a total of 7 people under investigation, both the beneficiaries and the officials who are accused of forging the documents and abusing office, with the file expected to be filled with evidence from the prosecution as well. From the same police sources, it turns out that the 100 hectares in question, extending from Vlora to Himara, have been handed out over the last 16 years. In some cases, it is even suspected that some judges, prosecutors or their family members may have benefited through the receipt of properties. On the other hand, the documents presented as evidence in court proceedings between those who claim to be the owners and current beneficiaries are also being reviewed. If the private companies tasked with public transport lines are not going to modernise their fleet of vehicles with electric models, the municipality of Tirana will replace them. This is how Mayor Veliaj explained the situation from Verona as he held a meeting with his counterpart. Veliaj announced that cooperation with Verona will be intensified through 2 new agreements in the field of transport and city lighting. We are studying how we can move forward with the city lighting and public transport projects. As I promised, if the private lines do not modernise their fleet with electric vehicles, through cooperation with Verona, we will start to replace many of the private lines, said Veliaj. During his stay in Italy, Veliaj also held a meeting with the president of the Veneto region, Luca Zaia, which examined the possibility of cooperation in the field of tourism and agriculture. I am delighted to meet with the mayor of Tirana and see someone who wants to work, so I congratulate you for this, said Luca Zaia. The mayor of Verona emphasised the close cooperation his city has with Tirana. I had incredible hospitality in Tirana. I could see for the first time a city of great energy, which is really growing at the speed of light. We also met with the president of the Veneto region, Luca Zaia, with whom we discussed important projects. The most important thing is that a real relationship was established between the 2 mayors who love their land and so can build something important together, said the Verona mayor. From Italy, where he attended the Vinitaly Fair, Tirana's mayor, Veliaj, encouraged Albanian enterprises to deal in viticulture for increased presence in this market. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join me again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.